Hello everyone. Today we will have a look at a lovely nation in Europe that is mostly Muslim and has a low-cost economy. It is a respectable country where the people of Pakistan are liked and acknowledged. Today we are going to visit Bosnia and Herzegovina. Yes, the splendor of this nation is no less breathtaking than Switzerland, but almost nobody knows what has happened to Muslims in our nation. How do Pakistanis travel visa-free? What are some of the stunning spots in this country? In today's video, we will discover all of these. Let us begin a fantastic adventure to Bosnia. To most people, Bosnia doesn't feel like Europe. It is not enormous crowds everywhere. No haste, no non-stop, no sensation of life rushing too quickly. Instead, you see green mountains disappearing into the skies, cold rivers through silent villages, waterfalls concealed in woodlands that hardly seem affected by the modern world. And yet, it still seems unplumbed. This little nation is situated in the heart of the Balkans, but many tourists just pass it by without knowing what they are missing. Bosnia may not be the wealthiest nation in Europe, but emotionally, physically, and culturally, it makes a more profound effect than sites much more known. Many people equate its attractiveness to that of Switzerland. Iconic. And to be honest, when you're standing next to the emerald waters of the Neretva River, or watching morning fog wash over the mountains around Sarajevo, you see why. Things are sluggish around here, coffee keeps well, conversations are more intimate. People are shocked by the expense of living. A decent lunch, a quiet accommodation, even a train journey in the highlands might be significantly cheaper than in Western Europe. Bosnia is also known as the land of water, and once you get there, the name makes sense. Rivers, lakes, cascades, rain, mountain springs. We're all surrounded by water, but what makes Bosnia genuinely unforgettable is the impression that mankind still counts here. But Bosnia's mountains are hardly the most surprising thing. Or the rivers, or the silence you may find even in its valleys. It is true that on a continent where centuries of religious strife, somehow Bosnia learned to live with itself. Nowhere is this more important than in Sarajevo. You can stand on one street and hear the church bells. Then, moments later, hear the Islamic call to prayer echo over the hills. A synagogue a few streets away, it has seen wars, empires, and political collapse. For years, Muslim, Catholic, Orthodox Christian, and Jewish families have lived together here. Not good. Not so easily, but together. Iconic, thus many people name Bosnia the Jerusalem of Europe, and it really seems like a different thing to travel about Sarajevo after dark than any other location in Europe. The streets are all layers of history at once, mosques of Ottoman Empire, architecture of Austria, marketplaces of old stone, the fragrance of grilled meat and Bosnian coffee. What you see here is more than cultural effect. You may feel it in your everyday life. The elderly shopkeeper knew all his neighbors by name. Families stayed together till late in the night. Friends would sit for hours over coffee and not look at the clock. Bosnia reminds us of what modern culture wants to forget. Not every culture needs to murder another culture to survive. But Bosnia's tale is more than culture, and it is also about remembering. And some memories actually did not depart from here. And there are those in Sarajevo who remember the bombs going off at night, people who recall empty supermarket shelves, chilly flats, missing relatives. The nation suffered a lot in the 90s with the Bosnian War. Entire settlements were devastated, thousands died, and many Bosnians believed the world was quiet while they suffered. But there is one nation that will never be forgotten by many Bosnians: Pakistan had been one of the first countries to recognize Bosnia's independence in 1992. In a Bosnia isolated and battling for its very survival, their support meant something both emotionally and politically. Iconic, eventually Pakistani forces were placed under the UN missions. Refugees' meals. Several people in danger took shelter. Eventually, the tales of such compassion spread across Bosnia. This is why many Pakistanis who now go to Bosnia are astonished by the kindness they encounter there. The locals welcome them into their homes. Restaurant proprietors don't accept extra tips. The old men shake hands with real respect. And the emotional aspect is that a lot of the younger Bosnians were not even born when the conflict started. But there was still wonder. People in Bosnia go on with their lives, but people don't readily forget who was around when everything fell apart. And perhaps it is what is so surprising about Bosnia. When the fighting was heard, the history, the heartbreak, you would think Bosnia would weigh a ton, costly, hard to live in. But then you show up, and now life seems wonderfully easy again. In Sarajevo, you can relax beside a river and have a strong Bosnian coffee for just a few bucks. You can travel a train through mountain valleys that seem like they belong in a movie, and you don't have to pay hundreds of euros. In many towns, even the rent of an apartment is a good deal cheaper than individuals pay in Western Europe. Bosnia gradually became one of Europe's secret cheap spots for students, vacationers, and even remote professionals. And the weird thing is, it doesn't feel cheap in a negative sense. Fresh food, cafes are alive. Iconic, the public transit is still operating. People still have style and care about their cities. In cities like Mostar or Sarajevo, you can still have a hearty supper among the historical alleys without having to continually check your bank account afterwards. That's unusual in contemporary Europe. Now many young people from many nations come here to study, to travel quietly, or just to escape the burden of pricey, fast-paced cities, because Bosnia has something that many people secretly miss: slower life, genuine talks, beautiful landscape, and the notion that pleasure doesn't have to be pricey. Most individuals who visit Bosnia, however, do not remember the landscape. It's about how people treat each other. In many places in the contemporary world, life is hurried. People are monitoring alerts. We are all late for something. Looks like everyone is busy. Bosnia is another matter. Here, people still spend hours at coffee without feeling terrible about it. One simple afternoon talk might evolve into a whole evening. Friends don't check the clock every 5 minutes. Families still like eating together. Locals tease each other about something called Bosnian time. If you say I'll be there in 5 minutes, it may take 30 minutes. And weirdly, no one seems bothered about it. At first, this confuses the tourists. And then someday, many will be jealous of it. Iconic. A lot of people are truly missing life as humans, not as machines. And here, hospitality is something genuine. The visitor is often regarded as a personal guest rather than a client. Homemade food, coffee, tales, and time are given by the people. And after the war, the Bosnian women became a more important element of the community. Many lost husbands, brothers, and dads in the war, so they brought families. Now you see resilience everywhere. Businesswomen, long hours, watching over generations in the same house. Bosnia may seem tranquil today, but the force behind that peace was produced by individuals who would not give up on life. And then there is the Bosnia that seems almost dreamlike. You are strolling around Sarajevo for the first time, and suddenly it is simply not contemporary Europe. Footsteps on the ancient stone roads, the aroma of roasting meat and strong coffee floated along the tiny alleyways, amber-lighted copper businesses. Minarets rise beside decaying Austro-Hungarian structures. Somehow more than a century seem to have survived in the same city. For almost 400 years, Bosnia was part of the Ottoman Empire. And unlike many locations where history was lost in industrialization, Sarajevo still has that Ottoman character in everyday life. Başarjia is the soul of the city. The old bazaar dates back to the 15th century. Iconic, honestly. Wandering about it seems more like Istanbul than what most Americans imagine Europe is supposed to look like. You will still find modest family stores offering handcrafted coffee sets, rugs, lanterns, and traditional delicacies. People stay outdoors for hours sipping Bosnian coffee from small copper cups as birds circle above. The Sabilj fountain is the center of the city, a wooden fountain in the Ottoman design that became one of the most recognizable symbols of Sarajevo. They claim, even the locals say, if you drink the water there once, someday you will return to Sarajevo again. And maybe there is a reason that mythology still lives on, because Bosnia has a strange way of making people nostalgic when they are still standing at that time. But under the cafes, the old marketplaces, and the magnificent mountains, Bosnia still has wounds most visitors never quite see. If you look attentively, as you stroll about Sarajevo or Mostar, you may sometimes detect little holes covering apartment walls. Many tourists at first presume it is ancient weather damage. It isn't. These are bullet holes, and these are not history books for the people here. They are recollections. Bosnia endured one of the worst conflicts in modern European history. Between 1992 and 1995, cities lay under siege. The families took refuge in the basement. No power, no clean water. Children grew up to the sound of sniper fire, not school bells. For many of Bosnia's Muslims, the conflict was a nightmare to which the world responded too slowly. Iconic mass graves are still being uncovered in certain regions today. That reality never really went away. There is a site in Sarajevo named the Museum of Crimes Against Humanity and Genocide. Inside are personal things left behind by victims: footwear, photos, letters, children's toys. There is no way to express the feeling of the edifice. Bosnia reminds you of something unpleasant. How swiftly a calm nation can fall apart is astonishing, and that may be why regular life is so precious to contemporary Bosnians today. Friends and coffee, family meals, quiet mornings. If you have been through war, even ordinary life becomes precious. And that's perhaps why vacationing in Bosnia is so emotional. Because in this nation, beauty and misery are not distinct. They are coexisting. Same streets, same rivers, the same buildings. Sarajevo is one of the best representations of such mood. Most people do not know that the incident that ignited World War I took place here in 1914. The killing of one man at the Latin Bridge irrevocably impacted the history of the world. Today, visitors nonchalantly wander the same streets, oblivious to the history that has passed under their feet. Then there is Mostar, most photographed city in Bosnia, I suppose. The iconic Starry Most Bridge is in the middle, a magnificent Ottoman stone bridge over a vivid blue lake. From above the Neretva River seems nearly surreal, iconic particularly at sunset. But even here conflict had left its wounds. The old bridge was destroyed during the war and rebuilt years later. You will see that difference wherever you go in Bosnia. Beauty next to survival, and beyond the cities the country becomes even more cinematic. Kravica Falls and other places seem isolated from the contemporary world. Cold water pounding through verdant trees, mist rising in the air. Families swim in the summer, surrounded by silent mountains. Sometimes Bosnia doesn't seem so much like a holiday destination, and more like a movie scene where someone unintentionally forgot to put commercials in. That's why so many tourists leave feeling emotionally attached to it. And having seen all that, the history, the tragedy, the beauty, the people, a frightening question starts to creep into the mind of many travelers. What if I really lived here? Bosnia is more than a destination. To some it begins to seem more and more like a location where eventually life may be calmer again. It's cheap and family-friendly versus many of the places in Europe. Cities are lively, not overwhelming. Kids still play outside. Neighbors still know their neighbors. And in many cultures, personal ties still matter more than social status. The country also has a well-educated population with high literacy rates and universities that cost a lot less than those in Western Europe or the United States. Iconic Bosnia is slowly becoming an underrated destination for international students, digital nomads, or those simply looking to live a more quiet life. And unlike the overhyped tourist sites, Bosnia still has a true atmosphere. There are not a lot of people hanging about you all the time. You may still hear the normal sounds of life around you. the bakery queues in the morning, clattering coffee cups at little cafes, families wandering during the night. Even the term success seems different here. More on not showing off, more about time for real life. Perhaps that's what gives Bosnia such a strong emotional impact on people, not because it says it is perfect, but because it reminds people what humanity looks like when it slows down and survives together. Iconic. If this gives you a new perspective, please subscribe for more interesting insights. And let me know what resonated with you most in today's video. Thank you for watching the whole video. See you in the next one.